What's going on, guys? T2RX6 here, back for another third-party review, and today we're taking a look at the MakeToys Remaster Series number 11. This is Howling Meteor. Obviously, it's their G1 Starscream. But before we take a look at the bot, let's take a look at the accessories. Obviously, every Starscream needs his no rays. They are on this little swivel thing here, so you can kind of move them around as you need be. Before you plug him in, I also want to point out that he has these two little cones that he comes with here. And you take the barrel of the null ray off and you put this on, and it gives it a more like traditional missile look when you have it in jet mode. So the null ray is pretty easy. They just plug right into the sides here. I actually kind of wish they were a little higher up. I mean lower down the forearm, just because they're a little difficult to work with, but they do end up ultimately working. We'll get to that issue in a minute. The next accessory it comes with is actually one for Despotron too. You pop off his left hand and you slide this one on, and you get the hand gripping Starscream's neck. You just pop that on the ball joint there, and very cool, a very iconic scene here. And the detail on the face is nice, but here's the problem. The shade they used on the face is really like 2 shades less than black, so most of the time you can't see it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights pointed straight at this thing, and it's very hard to tell the difference. Very hard. And that's the problem with every single one of these faces. In fact, as you get back here, it looks blacked out. You don't even see any of the detail. So that's a bummer. He also comes with 2 extra faces. You've got kind of like an open and complaining face there. And then you got a smirky face like this. And it's better than Jazz, but I still don't think that it's right. It just doesn't really feel that right. So let's talk about the robot mode here. And I gotta say right off the bat, I've never felt more indecisive about a robot as I do this guy right when I got him. He's got a lot of things that I don't particularly care for, and then he's got a lot of things that are really good. And originally I thought I wanted to sell him because I didn't think the good outweighed it, and then I kind of sat there a little longer, and suddenly I started liking this guy more. So I don't know, hopefully this review will provide me with my own level of clarity. Die-cast is important to some people. He's got big die-cast thighs. I'm not sure if there's anywhere else. It feels like maybe there's a little on some of these back pieces. But most of it's in your thighs down here. So let's talk about the paint. Anything that is painted, such as the cockpit and this red piece down here, and like the little black and the blue on here, is like flawless. I don't see any real like going outside the lines. Everything looks good. The stripes are very well applied. They're probably on a tampo, but they look good. They're not crooked or anything. No complaints there. I guess if I'm going to nitpick, when you go on here, some of the little cracks didn't get the full red, and it varies kind of from wing to wing what has red and what doesn't. So let's talk about some of the things I don't like. We still have a tab mechanism here that locks the wings back, and this is a die-cast piece here. So this ends up kind of, it plugs in, but it is something that kind of comes loose relatively easily back there. I'm also not a big fan of these forearms because you can see right through them. And I don't like this chest gap. And now possibly the worst thing about this toy, in my opinion, is that there's no heel spurs on this guy. So while he's extra posable, he just doesn't really, you know, if you put him down the wrong way, he's gonna flop over, and it's just not very great. If you don't like these gaps here, you can kind of rotate all this stuff up to bring his feet more in, but the more in you get, the harder it is to get him to stand and look proper. I mean, like that, he's angled forward like he's from Smooth Criminal, and anymore he just kind of goes back. So you have to really pull these out like this, and it does leave big gaps down here, and that compensates for that front motion. But then if you do it too much, he just kind of flips backwards because there's no heel spurs. So it's weird that you've got a figure that, you know, kind of pushes the articulation on Starscream, but then doesn't have everything he really needs to work. The final issue outside of the face being black is I just feel like it's a little bit too small for Starscream's head. Let's bring in like MP Ironhide here, and I just feel like MP Ironhide's head and face just looks bigger than this. Like it's maybe wider here, but like the actual face inside the helmet seems so tiny, and it just doesn't feel right. I feel like the old MP Seekers actually end up pulling that off better. In fact, let's bring out Starscream here, and you can see he's got a dark face too, but it shows up a lot better on camera. You see the head's a little wider. But let's talk about what they do right here. So one thing that didn't bother me about my MP Starscream until I saw this guy is this chest line. And right here, it's beautiful. It goes straight across. If you put the shoulders straight down, they're straight across. If they're angled up, they just look fantastic. This guy has like the fuselage sticks up, and it's like, well, is this the shoulder or is this the shoulder? If this is the shoulder, the chest hangs down. You got this weird gap, and when you kind of articulate the arms, it just doesn't look quite as right as the MakeToys one. And some of the other things that I think are nice improvements on this one is that you do have the knee pads. I think they're a little more elegant looking than that. The colors down here do look nicer. I will say, while we're doing size comparisons, I do find it weird that they've gone ahead and done that stepped off the television screen look for Starscream, but kind of didn't really care about that for Megatron. That vibrant silver and all that, and the extra panels and stuff, like that's definitely not what Megatron was looking like. Yeah, so you got like a stylized Megatron and then like a hyper G1 accurate looking Starscream. It's a little weird choice. Ultimately, I still think it works together, but just something I wanted to point out. And also, I think the height is appropriate between the two because Megatron is taller than Starscream in most pictures. And finally, let's end up bringing MP Megatron in here, and you can just kind of see there's the height difference. Both of them looking very much like they stepped off the screen. I will say, somehow, on video it's not looking so bad. I don't know if it's the overly small head on Starscream or the overly like exaggeratedly large head on Megatron, but like in person Megatron's head looks huge and like his little thighs look small. I don't know. I'm not sure what causes that. So let's talk articulation on this guy. The head articulation is relatively poor. It's on a ball joint, so you do get a little bit of downward look, and I apologize, it's very hard to see because of the face here. But really no back on there because of all this extra stuff back here. I think they could have cut out a little bit of the helmet towards the back without any like ill effect to give us a little bit of up, but it's okay. I do feel like he's never actually looking straight, like he's always kind of looking down a little. The arm is on a no ratchets, just like a friction joint here, and then there is ratchets in here, but it's like a weird like friction ratchet, like you get and it clicks to a position, but you can kind of put it anywhere in between. So I guess that's nice, but I don't really understand the joint. Taking out this so you can articulate it around, you do get a bicep swivel. Can go 360. So obviously if you want to do that like blasting with the no ray, you want to get it out of the way and then kind of compress it back down to whatever makes you feel happy. Double jointed elbow, plenty of range of motion there, and see, you're seeing the wing just not really working the way it's intended because that clip mechanism is just not very good, especially when it's going into die cast. Coming down to the wrist, it's on a mushroom peg, and you do have the middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger on their own swivel, and then you have a double jointed and pinned so it can't come out pointer finger, but when it's straight, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily look right. I guess it doesn't look bad, but since there's kind of like a curve to the finger, it doesn't really look like he's pointing 100%. He's kind of doing that like Ghost Rider point, you know what I'm saying? Coming to the torso here, you do have a waist swivel. I believe you can get 360 if you get everything out of the way. It is a little weird that the cockpit is still here and breaks up like that. I do wish that that all kind of moved together. Based on how the figure works, you do get like this joint here, which does allow you to get a little bit of like an ab crunch going on, so you do have that. These hip skirts do move out of the way, and they get the full split there. a light ratchet, but still a ratchet forward, and a ratchet completely back, so that's fine. You do see this little butt flap here, which is a strange decision. I don't know why that was decided upon, so just keep yourself aware of that it is there. The knee it acts like it's single jointed. You get 90 degrees, but you actually have a second set of ratchets here that's relatively difficult to operate, and it gets you a much greater range of motion, but looks nice for certain poses, and then the previously mentioned ankles. So I will say that this guy's capable of getting into some crazy poses, and I'm just not very good at posing, but you can kind of see how you can get the null rays pointed one way. They do knock this wing out a lot of the times, but I mean, it stays up mostly good enough if you're going for a dynamic pose. But due to the lack of heel spurs, it's very hard to get them to stay, so you kind of really specifically have to kind of move joints to get them kind of more front heavy here. For me, it's like angling the knee a certain way, just kind of playing with it until you get them to stay, and then just hoping that everything touches the ground. And he will stay. He just would have stayed a lot better if he had some heel spurs. So let's get this guy transformed to his vehicle mode. It's a pretty good process. It's not too hard. We're going to start, let's fold the wrist up like this and bring that up. So fold it around, slide it up, and then slide it up. We're going to take this piece. This is not what the instructions tell you to do, but I find it easier to work with because we can get in there better and unpeg these pieces like this. We're going to come around to the back, and this back piece just falls off all the time. Hopefully it'll stay on for us. Nope. We take this, and this piece kind of folds out to make the cockpit. We bring this up, which Starscream's head will go in, and it does clip into place there. So we're not going to get any bigger Starscream head on this, unfortunately. And we can bring that down like this. This piece here, we're just going to get out of the way here. From here, we're going to pull on this piece here, and this whole thing will flip around like so. We can take this, slide it out, slide this around like so, and it's going to come in like this, but first we want to push this cockpit piece in, and that's going to let us go ahead and kind of secure this together, and then we can go ahead and bring this down, and once this is in place, go ahead and clip them around both sides here and bring it down like that. Alright, so let me re-show this because I don't think it went over well the first time. You're going to take this and spin it around like that, and then you can bring this piece up like that, and then this piece comes down here, and you want it to kind of clip in. It can be a little difficult sometimes, but it seems to be getting easier to do the more I mess with it. So take these, fold them up like so. Take these pieces, and you want to take them and fold them so like that little tab ends up being flat with what's the inside here. Now you'll take this and you'll fold it up just like that, and then you can take these and fold them up like that. The instructions tell you to move the torso and stuff, like it's all just completely unnecessary. Take this, slide it down, take it, slide it down, and now we'll go ahead and move the torso. I just feel like it's easier to do that once everything's in place. From there, you kind of slide this back up into position. You should see the top of the legs pretty much meet the fists, and then this little piece should slide up, and you should be able to tab it into both sides of the hands here, just like that. Now take the chest piece and compress them down, and you can see we got pretty much the front of the jet here. We can take these things and we can close them, and they do get stuck on the cockpit, but you can just kind of move them around just a little. So from here, we're going to go ahead and work on the legs. Let's start with the toes here. Actually, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. First thing we should do is unplug these from here, and then the back of the knee, and then that should let it come sliding up like that. So there's a tab there. Next, you kind of want to rotate the ankle rocker a little, and you want this thing to spin all the way back around like so, and put that in position. Take these wing pieces out, and we'll go ahead and do the foot. I really like how tight this collapses in. You just kind of want to keep rocking it on its two joints until it's pretty well flat. Take that again, make it flat. From here, whoops, our wing popped off here. It's just a little friction fit that I can see in time. Likely stands a chance of coming a little bit loose. From here we do kind of a combiner wars trick. You'll unpeg it, and then it all kind of compresses down like that, and it will clip into place. So there we go on both sides. Go ahead and close this up to make the solid leg. Go ahead and close these pieces up to cover the thrusters there. And I don't know if it's just mine or if it's all of them, but mine does tend to come apart relatively easy. But it will hold once we get into jet mode. From here, we can slide all this back just like so. We can bring our little butt flap down and plug that into position. Come to this piece, rotate it around like this, rotate it around like that, then bring it down so it's going to form the front part of our wings. We'll go ahead and flip these flaps up. They do end up kind of grinding together due to bad tolerances, so be careful about that. That could be something worth filing down later. Should not have been a problem. You would have thought they would fix that, but it does make it more seamless. It's just kind of rubbing. So from here, take this, slide it all the way up. I actually had accidentally done that when I refilmed something. In the robot mode, it should be down like this. Take this all the way around like so, and then there's a tab that goes into the back of the wrist right there. Take that into place, tab it into place there, and then this tab here has a slot right on the back of the leg there. So kind of getting all of this lined up, especially when you're looking at it on camera, can be a little tricky. But things should peg into place, and then you should be able to take the wings and peg them into place on the red piece. So we do that again over here. Bring this down and around. And if you're having trouble getting it to fit, you probably didn't slide that piece there. So there we go. We got his here. Peg it into the hand there. Peg it into the side here, and peg it into the leg back here. The leg is, in my opinion, the most difficult of the tabs, but when it does, you hear it click and you know it's in place, and you can kind of put this all together. Take the wings here, and I still prefer to have my wings angled here, but officially they're supposed to go straight up. And oops, these little pieces here, I always forget, they just kind of go back so they're not unsightly. And there we go, we can push everything down. We got our Starscream in his jet mode. I've got to say, very clean jet mode. Not too much robot kibble at the bottom here. I think it looks pretty darn stellar. The paint looks nice. The stripes are sharp. We do have some landing gear here. Come in underneath here. I do find it easier to kind of start taking the cockpit apart a little bit to get it out there. But the wheel flips out here, and then these ones just kind of flip out here. They're not actually rolling wheels, they're just there and painted for looks. We're going to put the no ray on one side so you can see how that looks. So you can make the decision how you want to display yours if you want. So there's the no ray. And then, like I said, we take this off and put the little missile piece on. And we got the missile on the other side. I think if I was going to keep them in jet mode, I would do this. If it's just a like flipping them back and forth thing, I'd just leave the no raise on personally. Here he is compared to the MP11 version of the mold. You can see MP11 is at least a tiny bit longer in his airplane mode. Not a whole bunch though. The width is about the same overall. So you're really not going to notice too much here. I will say some of these wings, the way they fold up is nice, but it does make it a problem when you're trying to display them. They do kind of flop around a little bit. But overall, I think the jet mode looks pretty impressive. I think it actually looks nicer than the MP11 just because the painted cockpit really kind of brings out that jet detail. You're not going to fit any drivers in there or anything like that, but I do think that it has a more impressive overall look. So let's get this guy transformed back to his robot mode and let's get out of here. We'll go ahead and take these null rays off, fold this up, fold those in. We're going to go ahead and start with the wings. Untab everything that's tabbed in. We'll bring them back around and plug them in place. Rotate this up. Rotate these down first. And rotate this around just like so. We'll do it again for the other side. And there we go. Just hate plastic on die-cast connections. I don't ever feel like that's a smart decision to make. Take it, rotate this around just like that. That's all done. Take this butt flap, unplug it, just kind of leave it out of the way. We can go ahead and open this thing up now. And just like so. We're going to come down to the legs here. Go ahead and split them. Open this thing up and out of the way on both sides. Take your leg, extend this mechanism, and it will clip in place. Just like so. Take this, well, actually, sorry, come to the front here. Take this piece, and kind of wiggle it all the way out, and like I said, you want it definitely out of that socket for best stability. Go ahead and rotate the ankle tilts here while you can, and take these guys and rotate them back to make some form of a heel spur. Fold that in. Take this piece, fold it up, and fold it in. Push it up, fold it up, fold it in. Take this little piece, bring it back up on both sides here, and plug this guy in to secure it. And should secure to the top too. There we go. Wasn't securing to the top on this one. And there we go. Just like that. Take these guys, fold them up and around. So that's the legs done. So coming to the top here, unplug the little crotch piece here, slide it on down, unplug this thing, and get it out of the way. We can rotate the arms up and slide them all the way up and in place. Just do that to get them out of the way. Bring these pieces out, and this should rotate down and in place. We can bring these around and bring out the side pieces here. Just like that. Bring this waist piece down. Take the hands, flip them out, rotate the hand, pull that, flip them out, rotate the hand. And now we can close these down like so. And we'll go ahead and work on the nose cone here. So for the nose cone, we're going to go ahead and take this little piece at the bottom, unclip it, bring it around, and we might as well rotate it. From here, we'll take this, we'll flip it up, and we're going to unpeg the sides of the nose cone here. And our favorite mechanism here is going to come off yet again. Take this guy, bring it around and fold it around like so. Take this piece, fold it in on itself like that, and bring this little piece sliding forward. And that will go down and plug in just like so. I hate that back piece. Okay, so once you got the back piece back on, if yours is falling off as easy as mine, take this piece and kind of rotate it down and rotate all this stuff up with it. So that should go down and you should see the torso kind of come together. Oh man, this piece, so annoying. So no joke, it's like the 5th or 6th time I've tried to just simply fold this down without this thing popping off its joint, but it just doesn't want to happen. So you go ahead and it needs to compress like this, and then you take this and it compresses in there like that. Ideally, it'll stay on here, but mine does not work ideally. We can take that and fix these, and now just take these, and we might need to get these things out of the way to do this. Bring them up. It'll peg into the sides of his body here, just like so. And we can go ahead and readjust all this hip skirts and stuff and bring it down. And there we've got our Starscream in his robot mode. And I gotta say, I still feel indifferent. I was hoping the review was gonna make me feel different about it, but I still am not sure if I want to keep it or if I want to get rid of it. I think the robot presence is beautiful. I think the transformation is relatively straightforward. There's some things like that back piece here that's just really annoying to me. It should have been better done. There's no reason that it just pops off that joint. I don't care for the butt flap, and I wish I had heel spares. But it's pretty, you know, like it looks really nice in jet mode, and it looks really nice as robot, minus the face that you just can't see. So I wanted to shoot a little follow-up here about what I wanted to do if it was going to be to sell the MP11 or sell this guy. And honestly, after a lot of thinking about it, I'm going to keep the MP11 and end up selling this guy. Now that's not to say that this is not a beautiful toy that has very vibrant reds and a striking figure. There's a lot of stuff aesthetically I would prefer about this guy. But the thing is, I don't dislike this guy enough to need to trade out 3 Seekers, 3 Coneheads, and 2 Rainmakers to get this mold. I had originally toyed with the idea of just replacing Starscream and keeping Thundercracker and Skywarp as MP11 molds. But frankly, I mean, if I had like this going on with Starscream in the front and 2 of the older molds in the back, I'd probably be compelled to switch them out too. Which then would probably lead to the Coneheads and the Rainmakers. I don't know, I'm probably a little indifferent on them. I probably could have kept them as MP11 molds. But yeah, I really didn't want to make that like $700 investment to switch out all my Seekers and Coneheads just because I prefer the shoulders and stuff here. The other thing is, I feel like this guy needs a little bit more of a neck somehow, and I feel like this guy has it just based on where it's mounted. It feels more appropriate to me. So if you want my honest opinion on this, I do think that this guy is brilliant and beautiful. If I only had some knockoff Seekers or I had no Seekers, 100% go for the MakeToys versus Yes Model or BB7, BB whatever number they are. or even the Takara Seekers. But if you already have the Takara set, I don't necessarily think that they're worth trading out to get this guy. If this really bothers you a lot, then yeah, this is definitely your show accurate model. But for me, if I take this guy back out of the equation, just sit this guy back on the desk, like, I'm not ultimately that unhappy with this. I didn't even know I was unhappy with it until I saw, you know, that perfect across chest. So that's my opinion. Hopefully that helps you guys make up some decisions if you want to trade yours out or, you know, keep your old ones. But yeah, so this is T2RX6. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next time.